global portfolio of HR and marketing at Tech Mahindra. Today I have with me Mr. Harshvendra Soin, who comes along with a 26 years of rich experience. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Soin. Thank you.
So, sir, my first question is out of sheer inquisitiveness. I want to understand, how do you really match the synergies between HR and marketing?
The synergies are quite there because both deal with people, and both functions are aligned with people, customers, whether it's internal or external, right. And therefore the demands, expectations, changing needs and priorities remain the same. So it's actually quite a synergistic role, if you ask me, actually.
Okay, taking cue from this answer, I would want to understand. So we know that a lot of things have changed in the past 2 years owing to the pandemic. Could you give me a sense of some irreversible shifts in terms of consumer behavior, business realities, and organizational structure?
Firstly, I think the pandemic in the last 2 years have had a deep impact. Right. What I would say has changed irreversibly is the priorities that people have today. And the priorities, whether it's in personal or professional life. For example, we clearly see this whole concept of hybrid as being very important. People are choosing the hybrid way of operation, not because it was only mandated by the COVID, because now there's no COVID and people can come back to office, but they prefer it because they do realize that the balance that they have in their lives is important. Similarly, I think in terms of customers are looking for partners who are more resilient. And the concept of BCPs have all gone out of the window because we all had BCP plans. But I think it's about ownership, resilience, and customers and employees are looking for companies with a purpose, which really means that today, earlier we used to have great brands, and people used to want to join brands. Customers used to be wanting to associate with brands. Today, it's changed to being associated with a company with a purpose, with a larger goal. Employees are looking for companies which can fulfill beyond business needs, to the communities, to the nation. And I think that's really a big indelible change that's happened today.
So my next question is that despite the 2 pandemic years, Mahindra ensured that the best of technology-led business solutions are provided to all of the stakeholders. How did you manage that? How did you ensure that?
I think it's very much in our DNA. Our DNA of RISE is about alternative thinking, accepting no limits, and driving positive change. When the pandemic hit us, honestly, we didn't know how to react. Nobody knew, right? But it is this very DNA of RISE that made us do things which were innovative. I'll give you many examples, but we were up within the first 72 hours for our customers. Okay. And the reason we could do that was because while everybody else went and started ordering laptops to enable work at home, what TechM did was really ask employees for their laptops. We reconfigured them, we gave them a monthly rental, and in a day we had lakhs. Because that time the supply chain was not really working, laptops were not coming in from China anymore. Similarly, I think it is the innovativeness of TechM. It is the fact that people actually carried desktops and laptops on their bikes, their scooters, their cars. So we didn't wait for trucks to come in and have a supply chain which goes to people's houses. We actually delivered laptops from sheer passion. And to me, the differentiator was how we actually reacted to keeping in the well-being of families, employees, and even communities in mind. And the nature and the DNA arose from that RISE DNA that we had. So I think that was a big difference from us.
So also, it wouldn't be wrong to say that the role of HR moved from being a supportive to a more decision-making, role. How much would you agree to it, and what kind of observations have you made on that front?
That's a very good question, Soin. And I do believe very passionately that the role of HR has undergone a significant change. Really from a compliance function in the industrial age to really process excellence function in the information age to now, which is a digital age, it's transformation function and really right up there with the board. Right. And the reason is today the biggest challenge that each CEO faces is talent. Whether it's setting up a new company or it's enhancing the business in an existing one, the biggest risk today is talent. And the reason why HR is at the helm of affairs is because to enable overcoming this risk, we don't only have to have a good brand name, but also build a great employer brand. Because today, in the great resignation, and I call it the great reclamation, employees actually are looking at a significant brand presence, not only of the product, but of the employer brand. And HR has a big role to play in talent strategies, in talent attraction, retention, as well as to ensure that what are the business plans are actually led by HR. And imagine in our kind of industry, Soumya, where the raw material is people. And it is a people's business, and almost 64 to 68% of cost is people. The role of HR becomes that much more important. And any plan that any organization has, especially in IT, has to be led and envisioned by the HR heads.
I would also want to understand what kind of improvements have you seen in terms of diversity, equity and inclusion in 2022? Plus, would they continue in the coming year? What are your thoughts on that?
The last 2 or 3 years, while has been a social calamity, I do believe that it's been a blessing in disguise for D&I. Because imagine, Soumya, where in the past did you have women who had taken a break come back into work that much? Gig working, which allows people who have other sensitivities, for example, they have a kid at home or they have another assignment, they can all come back. We've clearly seen that, we call ourselves, for example, intentionally diverse and a globally inclusive company. We have taken, and we believe that our differentiator with our clients also has been the fact that we are very inclusive. I'll give you some examples. For example, we've gone, whether it is gender, whether it's nationality, age or thought, we believe we are at the cutting edge, and that gives us a business advantage. From breakthrough things like we also have an LGBT plus 12 communities which are active. We have done many things around expectant mothers and their welfare and well-being. We have done a lot of work on promoting, young talent to come in and grow. People from various nationalities to come and thrive, and to my mind, it has been permanent. We are one of the first ones to introduce, insurance for same-sex partners, sexual reassignment surgeries. People have actually availed it, right? I mean, can you imagine people actually availed it? And therefore, whether it's infrastructure, gender-neutral washrooms, making sure that the culture is such that it becomes a great place for women to work. And we are the top place for women to work, not because it's just a nice thing to do, but because it's a business belief and a belief in our culture that we do believe IT is about innovation, and innovation needs a great mix of gender, a great mix of nationalities, cultures, and that will actually propel our business forward. So I think we truly believe in the fact that diversity and inclusion, and I'll quote my favorite Verna Myers, who said, diversity is being invited to the party and inclusivity is being asked to dance. So we are not only inviting people to the party, but asking them to dance. And I think that's a big differentiator.
Very nicely put. Sir, my next question is, most of the companies have transitioned into a digital workplace, right? And that is bound to bring changes in leadership and management styles. So what comes next for the work, the worker and the workplace, according to you?
And that's a very interesting question, Soumya. And I can tell you, the context of leadership post-COVID has changed. Absolutely. And why? Because, as I said, people who were great leaders pre-COVID, in the hybrid world, most of them are finding it extremely difficult unless there is an emotive connect. We have moved away from command and control to ownership and resilience. That's a major shift. Today, the skills, while most of them remain same, but there are certain skills for leadership that are so important today? And let me give you a few. So in my mind, flexibility, adaptability is key, right? But more importantly, we call it the flexibility in dimensions, or to look at opportunity where there is threat, right? Then we look at, really the immersive learning approach, which means you have to get yourself into an unfamiliar environment as a leader and learn. Rapid prototyping is huge because, in an uncertain world or a hyper VUCA world, clearly, the rapid prototype takes a huge. Leaders today have to learn how to crowdsource ideas. No longer does everybody expect a leader to know everything.
Correct.
And then, the bioemergence or biosensitivity, which means look at it from the view of the nature. ESG has become important. So leadership skills and traits, Soumya, have completely changed. Great leaders today are not those who can command and control, but who can inspire and lead. And in the post-COVID world, where imagine none of your team sit with you. They could be spread around the world. They could be operating from the beach. How do you inspire
I know
somebody?
so many of these founders who are sitting in one office, but the actual employer base, works from different areas.
Yeah, we haven't, for example, we haven't called our employees back.
Okay.
Never in the last few years. Because we realize that the opportunity that we have to have people along with their families. I'll give you an example, Soumya. We've opened 11 tier 2 towns. And you can, tier 2 towns, which on the map you'll find it difficult, right? And we've said, please go back to your families in those tier 2 towns. We'll set up development centers there. And we promise never to get you out of that. Now imagine, people said, okay, we're willing to take a lesser salary, but I want to be with my family. But what do we have? We have a great opportunity to have great talent, because there is a lot of academia around there, and longevity of talent. We are one of the only IT companies in our peers which have actually shown a decline in attrition this quarter, which we presented the last quarter. And I think it's a mix of many things, including the culture, the way we sort of treat our employees. But I think more importantly, it's also a recognition of the fact that hybrid has changed the way we operate. So I think it's going to be a significant change, and it's here to stay.
And I think eventually it all boils down to having a happy employee. And if the employee is happy, then rest of the things follow, right?
We also believe, you're absolutely right, Soumya, we call it human experiences. And I'll tell you what we mean. We say human experiences are, while technology can be an enabler, moments of truth are always human. So while you use technology, not for the sake of using technology. I don't want to use technology just because it's an AI or a cool thing to do on a metaverse, but it's to enhance the human experiences and make the human life better and happier. For example, we started recruitment on metaverse, very unique. But it's not just because we wanted to do it on metaverse, because imagine the reach I have today, the experience that I give to employees just by being in metaverse. My facial recognition tool, which was there, where you don't have to use your ID cards anymore. K2 are humanoid, so that could answer any queries without really sort of, calling up a help desk. Our Talix tool, which is really the first marketplace of talent, it is all aimed towards human experiences. And to us, human experience is a function of a customer-like experience, a user-like experience, and an employee-like experience. So today, employees demand that.
Got it. Coming down to my last question, sir. So Tech Mahindra has actively focused on the next gen technologies, whether it was 5G, AI, or blockchain, right? I want to understand, how would you define the current day digital transformation, and what kind of trends would we anticipate in the coming few years?
So it's a time of hyper change. Yeah. It's a time where, it's time of discovery. It's a time of innovation. For example, we talk about, and I'll talk about two key technologies that we believe will change the way we live, operate. One is clearly 5G. Simply put, what is 5G? 5G brings you 20 to 30 times the speed. Latency, which means milliseconds, right? and the density, which means you can have millions of devices in a square mile, will change everything. It will give you opportunity to do things which you can't do today because of the way we are on internet. Quantum computing and meta. Imagine what is meta. And just to explain, and people get confused, what does metaverse? Earlier what used to happen was that we used to send a physical mail, right? The mail used to go, right? Used to put it in the mailbox, it used to go. And then we started using email, which means the digital version of the mail.
Correct.
But meta is nothing but a combination of the physical and the digital version. Correct. And therefore it's a huge new experience where even the youngsters, the new generation, expect these technologies to change their lives and change the way the employers actually survive. So I think it's going to be a significant change in many things as we come, and these two technologies definitely are going to be something that we should look forward to.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time, sir. I'm sure the audiences will have their takeaways as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Marina. Thanks so much. Thank you.